Hello, everyone. Did you look at this title and say, what in the world is she talking about? My church is the church. You are not the least bit unusual if this is what you thought or said. In fact, you're among the majority. How many times have you said or heard someone else say, my church is the right one? Or, if the words weren't spoken, you knew by the way a person spoke about his or her church, it is the only right one. I once was among those people and would have defended my church to the death. That all changed 30 years ago, thanks to the Holy Spirit. My freshman year in college, I had two roommates. The first one came in September and left during Christmas vacation. The second one came in January. She was a gift from God, and 60 years later, she still is. We had only one problem. I was Lutheran, and she was Presbyterian. That was troubling to me, because everyone should be Lutheran, I believed. She slowly became one of my best friends, and I worried because she probably wouldn't be saved. After all, even Martin Luther knew Lutherans had all the right answers. One Sunday, she asked me to go to church with her. This time, she wanted to go to a non-denominational church because she was curious about it. Oh, I was leery about doing that, and even felt guilty not being in a Lutheran church that morning. But I liked her so much, I agreed to go. I don't remember much about the service, except that they passed out bread and wine for communion, and my roommate took some. I definitely did not. When the service ended, she asked me why I didn't take communion. I told her I wasn't allowed to do that in a non-Lutheran church. And I'm sure I prayed for her that night. Folks, to this day, I am horrified at that whole scenario. Truth is, I was so indoctrinated in the Lutheran Church that I was actually arrogant and clueless. And even worse, I was totally unaware of that. Does that story ring a bell with you? Do you believe your church is the only true church? Most Christians believe that. If that's you, buckle your seatbelt, because I have news for you. Your church isn't the best or the only one, and won't save you or anyone else. The 7 churches of Revelation prove that. There is no perfect, right, or good church on earth. None. Because, according to Isaiah 64, verse 6, all our righteous acts are like filthy rags in the mind of a perfect God. So, how did we come to believe only our church is right? And how do we change that? Let's begin by understanding our churches began in countries. Italians, Irish, and French, for instance, are Catholic. Germans are Lutheran or Catholic. Greeks are Greek Orthodox. Russians are Russian Orthodox. The English are Methodist. People from Switzerland and Scotland are Presbyterian, and so on. This doesn't hold true for everyone, but it's true for most. The immigrants brought their religions to America, knowing that there is a pride of heritage inherent in most churches. Very few Italians are, for example, found in a Lutheran church. Most Scandinavians are not found in a Catholic church. So, the family into which you were born and their heritage usually determined your church attendance. Cultures then worshiped together, and people found familiarity in their churches. Giving up that foundation is extremely difficult and can, in fact, cause family difficulty if one leaves the church of their heritage. Family members take that as a personal attack. So, most people not only remain in the religion of their birth family, but champion it as the only right religion. Here's a question for you. Does God care one iota about your heritage or your dedication to an earthly church? Absolutely not. He cares only about your loyalty to Him, His Son, and His Spirit. That loyalty includes knowing what He requires of us, not what any church requires. God doesn't want us to get familiar with the church. He wants us to get familiar with Him. He wants us to grow in our faith and get on the narrow road to salvation. How can anyone do that if he or she has not read the only book God wrote, knowing neither has the pastor or priest of the church one attends read it entirely? Pastors and priests are loyal to the doctrine taught by their denomination. They have to be. If they don't teach exactly what that denomination teaches, they will be terminated. Seminaries indoctrinate them, and they in turn indoctrinate us. This has gone on for centuries. So, who or what are you loyal to? Are you loyal to the church you attend, your heritage, the traditions of your family, or are you loyal to God? Most people have to, if they're honest, accept they are loyal first to their denomination, their heritage, and the traditions of their family. There are churches whose pastors and priests have read the whole Bible. Even more important, there are churches in which the only source for that church is the Bible. These are called independent or non-denominational churches. Non-denominational seminaries require future pastors to read and study only the Bible. Denominational doctrine is not studied. Therefore, the message you hear on Sunday is based solely on the Bible. Churches like this are hard to find, but they're worth searching for. I've already made that change. My prayer is that you now put God ahead of your denominational heritage and find a church that teaches and stands only by the Bible. Will you have the courage to do that? Believe me, it will take courage, but you'll be glad you did it. See you Thursday.